You can't get ahead of a group that has a coping mechanism and represents the Met Gala. That's crazy. You see, how do we even... Did the EPL flop? Yes and... You see, I hate the answer yes and no. Did the EPL flop? Overall, yes. City and Arsenal, you won the groups. Well done. City, they're the defending champions, and we group, we expect them to. Arsenal, how good were their competition really? For Newcastle, the amount of money you've spent, I know it's been a long time, but I'm sorry, the amount of money you've spent and the position you were in. You had a home game where all you needed to win, and we know what the PSG result was, and we knew that they were not going to win at the best draw. You had a home game against what we thought was the worst team in the group, which was AC Milan, and you were leading and you lost out that game. You had a home game against Dortmund and you lost that. So before we even look at the whole crazy penalty call, and yes, of course that was a horrible penalty call. That lost to Dortmund, but fine. That lost to AC Milan. I'm sorry, bro. Like, nah. Now you only have yourselves to blame. Because give me a home game where if I win, if you had won the game, you would have gone through. Boom. Because we knew PSG were not going to win. We knew at the best they were going to draw. So really, just do your bits, win the home game. Dortmund will do their bits and hold PSG. You are through. So for Newcastle up and down, but I'm sorry, but you've spent more money outside of PSG. You spend more money than Dortmund. You spend more money than AC Milan. So with that amount of money spent, I expect you to go and qualify ahead of Dortmund and AC Milan. PSG, fine. We know what PSG is and who they have. But ahead of Dortmund and thingy, I expect you to. Because you represent EPL money and EPL spending. And the fact that you represent EPL money and EPL spending, I'm sorry, it's pretty disappointing you were not able to say what's up. Manchester United, that's the clincher. Because that is a disgrace. So Manchester United is why it has tipped the scales to this is ultimately a disappointment for the EPL. Manchester United, money you spent. Okay, bad. Galatasaray and Copenhagen. You can't get ahead of a group that has a coping mechanism and represents the Met Gala. That's crazy. That's crazy. So for Manchester United, that is embarrassing. You have disgraced the Premier League. You came third in the EPL. You are Manchester United. You've won this Champions League in its version twice. You know how much money you've spent. You must have spent 10 or 20 or 50 times more than Galatasaray and Copenhagen combined. So even if Galatasaray, Copenhagen, bro, look, they're mini-me. They're freaking Ventroy and they're freaking mini-me. So the fact that you couldn't beat Copenhagen twice, and the only win you had was against Copenhagen at home, and you could have very easily have drawn the game because remember, without that penalty save, that would have been a draw. So you'd have won 0 games. So for Manchester United, I think, so when you combine United and Newcastle, it's embarrassing because remember, this is a league who has way more spending power than everyone else. Way more spending power than everyone else. That trounces everyone else in spending power right now and says FE to FFP. So for you to only have, out of 4, 2 teams go through, that's embarrassing. So it's based on money spent and only 2 of your teams have gone through and the groups your teams were in because for Newcastle, sorry, I know it's been a long time, but for money spent, I expect you to go in ahead of Dortmund and AC Milan, specifically Dortmund. Knowing how we abuse and we insult Dortmund, I expect you to finish ahead of Dortmund. I expect you to at least beat Dortmund once, at least. And beat AC Milan as well, but I expect you to beat Dortmund. Sorry, I expect you to. Based on money you've spent and the kind of players you can attract at Dortmund are a selling club. You see, I don't want to say the W word. But you know what? But you know what that word is. I don't want to say because YouTube will say something crazy about me. Will probably demonetize this video. But Dortmund are the W word. Then I'm sorry, they're that. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that's what they are. They sell them themselves. But for Newcastle, you can buy. For United, that this is disgrace. For United, it's a complete and absolute disgrace. And there is no excuse for United. So for the EPL, especially in this whole EPL and Liga debate, always debates, and there always ups and downs. But if you're speaking about competition and UCL competition, this is a massive, huge L for the EPL.